Welcome, guys, to another CEO Wisdom Pod today with Justin Stinson. He's a coach, he's a CEO, he's pretty much everything in between. Excited to have him on. He's CEO at Liberty Communications Corp for more precision and high performance global startup and leadership coach. So at Capture Coaching, that is, we'll include that at the end of this pod. That has been brought to you by podfire.com, by the way. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts, find sponsors to your podcast. Podcasts are just amazing to learn, to connect with great people, especially if you have a great backend. If you keep guests and subscribers, subscribing to newsletters, to your LinkedIn and so forth. Pods are just amazing to learn, to grow, to build a community, and to get paid. Like I make bank with this podcast. So if you want to do the same, podfire.com. Justin, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and about your companies?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I've been in leadership for about 20 years, kind of worked my way through primarily the telecommunications industry and worked my way to CEO. And then in 2020, around the time of the pandemic was really kicking off, I kicked off my coaching business just kind of as a way to help business owners who are struggling or leadership sort of find new ways to do business. As you know, with the pandemic, we were all forced to think very differently, and the normal way we would do business was kind of taken away from us. So we all had to really think outside the box and find new ways to keep commerce going. And so that allowed me to kind of put my foot in and really focus on helping people think differently. And so now I work with executives and startups around the world, helping them kind of work on their culture, work on their leadership skills, find new revenue streams, just kind of build teams for scale, all kinds of different areas of their business to help them grow. And then I came on about 2 years ago with Liberty Communications, which is a small telecommunications company in Iowa. And we focus on broadband and telephone service, and continuing to expand and grow really aggressively throughout the Southeast region of the state. And it's been exciting. We had a recent acquisition, and so the integration piece and the scaling and growth of it has just been really exciting.
Right. And what about Liberty Communications Corporations? What's up with that one? What are your goals with that one this year?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we're looking to do is continue to grow within the region. So a lot of our network is fiber, and so we're putting a lot of fiber in the ground, and then we also have a portion of our network that is fixed wireless. And so through the help of some grants and then private investment, we are doing some pretty significant build outs of fixed wireless out into the rural areas of the state, so that everybody can connect through broadband to access what they want.
5G or?
No, this is most of this is unlicensed fixed wireless on the broadband side rather than the cellular side.
Right. So straight up cable underground. So what's the business model there? Like, do you take care of it all yourself? What are the investments that required to bring broadband to these communities?
Yeah, it's pretty significant. So we do hire contractors to do a lot of the work for us, although installations, repairs, maintenance, design, all of that stuff is done in-house by members of my team. They're the smart ones on the team. So I just get to work with some really smart people. From an investment standpoint, right now we're investing about $5 million into the fiber plant. And then the fixed wireless project that we're in the midst of is about a $4.5 million project as well on top of that. So there's a lot of investment going into the expansion of this network and the upgrades in order to bring it up to a multi-gig capability and really compete in the space with any other providers in the area.
So it's quite surprising to hear that some communities in America still do not have access to high bandwidth Wi-Fi. So like, what does their bandwidth look like? Is it like 1 Mbps? Is it like 2? Is it that weak?
Yeah, some of the folks way out in the country that maybe have farms in very difficult places to get to, they may have anywhere from 2 megs to 25 megs. But the expectation from the federal government is that every resident should have access to 100 meg over 20 meg. And so a lot of the investment that you're seeing in the industry right now is gearing towards pushing that and above, which has really been our focus. So the new fixed wireless technology is a next gen technology that is going to allow us to reach those higher speeds, even up to 5 miles away from the tower. We can still get really great speeds where we normally would have never been able to even get that connection. And then the line of sight also is a really big piece with fixed wireless. This new next gen technology kind of limits that impact and allows us to reach those customers that we normally wouldn't have before.
So the digging, the wires, the service, the towers, is there any more costs to these large scale projects?
Yeah, there's a lot of costs associated with the equipment that is kind of on the backside. So in the what we call the central office, kind of the hub of where all the electronics sit, there's a lot of costs associated with that. And then there is some equipment that's out in the field as well to help ensure that signal is the highest quality, that we're getting the right light on the fiber where we need it, and kind of control the environmental impacts.
So let's call it a $30 million investment to serve a community of 5,000.
So community 5,000 probably costs about we'll call it about $5 million. 30 million will take you to about a 25,000 resident community.
And what's the ROI on that? Because you don't sell the wireless to these people directly. You deal with big companies that do resell it for you, right? So
no, we sell directly to the end consumer, to the residents and
really,
businesses. And then we also do some wholesale stuff as well. So we'll sell it on any level. So we'll be doing the direct fiber to the home technology. So if somebody says, "Hey, I have Liberty Communications for my internet provider," that's us. And so we'll have our equipment in. Our techs will do the maintenance. We do have opportunities for like transport or dark fiber that we can provide to other providers or other companies in order to get to other places, and we do some of that on the wholesale side. And then we also provide some backhaul services to like cellular companies that are trying to get fiber into their cellular towers as well.
Okay, so 5 million, 5,000 community. Is that like your average project and your average community serve 5 million and 5,000 community?
Yeah, that it is currently. We're starting to target some of the larger communities as well that are fiber starved. So there's some that are in the 10,000 to 25,000 range that we're interested in getting into. And so we're working with those communities and putting together design and investment plans in order to do that.
Okay, and the 5,000, I guess, is the total size of the community. Like, what percent would be interested in using your wireless network service?
We anticipate generally about 60% of those will get on our
Wow.
service. And so that's typically our goal when we go into a new community that is starved with fiber, is to go about 60% is our goal.
And what's the monthly price? Is it fair to say like $200 a month? That's like 2,400 per year.
So in the new communities that we're building new fiber into, we're going to be offering a multi-gig solution. And
Okay.
so a lot of that is going to be, the pricing will start at $80 per customer.
Per
and it'll
month.
go up to about $150,
Okay.
180, I believe, for our 2 gig. And so that the idea is we're trying to drive people into that higher tier of speeds, just from an experience standpoint and future proof them for all the new technologies that are coming out.
Right. Okay. So $5 million as a cost. I guess the first year, the total addressable market would be 2.5. Let's call it a year, 2.5 million in rev. This is not all profit. The first year, it won't be 2.5, might be 1. So let's say that you get your ROI 5 years in.
Yeah, typically we shoot for 3 years.
Wow.
The quicker we can get that ROI, the better off, because then the rest is gravy revenue and allows us to put it back into the business for additional growth in other areas. So we're really aggressive in our marketing and our sales tactics in order to get that ramped up as quick as possible.
So what would be those, like in a rural community, I'd picture like flyers or having reps knock on doors almost, obviously Facebook ads and so forth. Like what does the GTM strat look like?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we do a lot of door tags. Our contractors will have information out there while we're doing the digging. We'll do digital ads, such as Facebook and Instagram. We'll do direct mailers. We are looking into some billboards in some of these newer communities. Those tend to be really expensive. But most of it is really hands-on. We also do a lot of community events. And so you'll see our name around quite a bit doing community events or sponsoring events where people can come out and meet us and we can get people signed up. The other thing we do is prior to going in and building, we'll actually send out a notification where people can go to our website and submit their interest. And it's a program called Checkpoint Solutions that allows us to get an idea of how many people are really interested before we even put a shovel in the ground. And then we can direct market to them, let us give them updates on the construction, where we're going. We can also identify the areas of town that maybe have the most interest that maybe we need to target quicker. And then we can also do the same thing on the business aspect so that we can kind of have an idea from a customized business solution what we're able to do for them.
Once the full project is done, like it must, how long does it take first to build such a project? Like 1 year?
Yeah, in most cases, 1 year to get all of the backbone and then the distribution piece in. We anticipate doing some of the backbone. Actually, we're in the process of doing that right now for one of the communities, and then we'll start the distribution in the spring after the ground thaws, because we get really bad winters here. And so that piece will take, several months. And while that piece is going on, we'll also start selling and getting people set up on the pieces that have already been turned up. So it's kind of a multi-phase by cabinet, by part of town. And then we'll just target each one of those and go aggressive in each one of those aspects until we get where we need to.
Right. And then you need to plug into the grid of the municipality. Do you take these costs, right? Well, I mean, you take a part of these costs and the customer does take another part of these costs, which are they minimal, or is that a big cost?
What do you mean by?
The energy. Or is it fully assumed by the consumer?
It's essentially fully assumed by us, and then we'll build that into the pricing for the customer.
Okay.
So depending on how many people are in, it will help determine the power consumption that we use in our central office.
And you only start digging the ground once you have all the approvals. Is there a failure rate, or is your success rate on all project 100%?
Success rate in what aspect?
Well, if you start a project and then someone comes and like, yo, you can't build that in the end, did that ever happen?
It may happen on a one location by location basis. Sometimes people don't want their yard dug up in order to get fiber to them and things like that. But we also go in ahead of time and get permits and required designs and everything with the city prior to digging. And so that's all signed off, ready to go. And then we also do communications with community members and the community itself, leaders, to let them know kind of what that process is going to look like. So they see quite a bit ahead of time, that what's going to be happening and why we're doing it. For the most part, when we're bringing fiber into a new area, there's a lot of excitement around it because this is something new and high tech and something they've been wanting for a long time. So we really don't get very much pushback. And we use contractors that are extremely reliable, do really good, clean work, good restoration on what they've done. So we have really high standards when it comes to who we use to do any of our work.
Super impressive. How much projects do you do a year? 4, 3?
On average, prior to our recent acquisition, we did about 2 a year. Now we're up to, I guess, 4 to 6. And I anticipate that to continue at that pace or faster.
It's really impressive. And you guys get funded from family funds and so forth, or like who funds you?
Yeah, so we get funds from a number of different areas. So part of our company is actually regulated by the federal government and the FCC, and so we do get some federal funds tied to that. We also apply for some federal grants or state grants to help fund this rural broadband build out. The other piece of it is privately funded within the organization, and then we also take some of our revenue that we generate from our existing business and put that back into the business to continue to grow or upgrade what we have.
To me, it seems like a gold mine. Why aren't the big boys doing that, and how do you compete with them?
Yeah, it's a gold mine if you do it right. That's the problem, is it's very expensive up front. It's a huge investment, and a lot of people, it's one thing you can build a network. Anybody can really build a network. You can throw fiber in the ground, you can even get it lit up, but maintaining that and maximizing it to the fullest effect, and then preventing any unnecessary outages as far as building in redundancies, that's where a lot of companies fail. And so that is something that we feel is a separation for us, and then add in the really good customer service and same day or next day response times with outages or installations or anything like that is something that most of the big boys just can't handle, and that allows us to have that kind of local flair to be able to help our neighbors.
Maintenance cost on one $5 million project, is it fair to assume that it's at least 500K a year, or it's less?
Yeah, I would say that's a fair assumption, just based on upgrades to the power system, or
Technicians?
operations technicians, tools, trucks, any of that type of stuff. Fiber cuts, if somebody else is doing construction out there and they cut our fiber, we have to go resplice it all back together. So there's some significant costs that go along with it.
As a CEO, what are your bonuses related to the completion of projects, the number of customers you guys signed? And is that fair to say that it's more than 50% of your compensation, or?
It's not more than 50% of our compensation. We have a pretty modest bonus program right now, because we use a lot of that money to go back into the business and reinvest it. So the pieces that do tie into it are our revenue production year over year, our growth in our new acquisition company, and then really our focus on our internal culture and how our employees are feeling about their jobs and about the company itself and the direction we're going. We've got measurements that we use to track that and ensure that we're keeping our focus on ultimately what we consider the nucleus of our business is the culture, because at the end of the day, that's ultimately what touches every other aspect of our company. So if you don't have a good culture, you're not going to have a successful business.
Wow. Okay. Now the coaching business, what percentage of your time is spent on that one, with like you being a CEO of that company, like 90% of your time, I guess?
Yeah. The coaching business, it's something that I do as a passion off hours. And luckily people pay me to do it, which is awesome, but I never got into it for that piece. It just kind of happened to come with it. I wanted to see people be really successful and help people through some really tough times. And it kind of grew into something else. So, probably 10% of my time is really spent on that. A lot of it is really dealing with just communication. So I really don't even think about it as ongoing coaching or ongoing, work when I'm working with these folks. It's, I really am interested in how their business is doing, or if they have a question, or if I'm trying to connect them to maybe an investor or, various aspects of it, it's really interesting to see. So I guess I never really, capitalize that time into one bucket. I just do it as it comes, and I jump on calls with them, and I'm excited to talk through some various situations. And at the end of the day, I do it really because I think it helps me become a better leader as well. And it really gives me a different perspective. It pushes my thinking beyond what I'm normally used to. And I think that's really important for me to continue and listen to people's stories and hear, even bounce ideas off of. Sometimes the coach can be the coached in so many different areas. And so I'm one that loves to learn. I'm always looking for different things to learn. And so I think putting yourself in that position with other great leaders around the world can really give you that different perspective.
Well, you're really inspiring, Justin. First time we met, I just remember first convo, by the way, because I speak to so many folks, and times I tend to judge, like as a human. And I mean, yeah, I sometimes we tend to miss the bigger picture. And like you say, like you said, just talk to humans and get to know them and their realities and so forth. And yeah, that's what coaching allows one to do. And then see if you can either listen or provide some advice if they warrant it. And yeah, your background is quite fascinating. Last but not least, tell us about you driving a Uber for 20 hours a day story.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was actually working for a company called Frontier Communications, and they went through a really big reorganization. So my position was actually eliminated. And so because of the area that I lived in, there wasn't a lot of other positions right there that was the same as what I was doing with my specialty and kind of that level of leadership that I was at. So in order to basically make ends meet, I started driving Uber, and it kind of gave me the flexibility to apply for jobs, interview, and create the money that I needed to in order to make ends meet and take care of my family. So it was a really tough time because you're working really long hours late into the night, dealing with a lot of interesting people. And there again, you can learn from a lot of those people. It really challenges you, but it puts you in kind of an interesting position to really figure out who you are, and really humbles you at your core. So I ended up falling in love with it. Even after I did get a job and move for a job, I continued to drive it for a long period of time, not 20 hours a day, but obviously, but I go out for 2, 3, 4 hours on a weekend or something and make a few extra dollars, and really enjoyed that process. So it was good.
Wow, man. You're kind of well, I mean, it's me kind of doing the same thing as you, but like a bit more planned and with CEOs and founders on this podcast, right? And you just gave me an idea. I think I'm gonna do the Uber thing, and I'm gonna record the conversations.
Yeah.
I'm gonna certainly experiment that. I just added that to my list of side projects. Not sure if they'll accept me on the platform though. I don't even have a driving license, so my brain is like thinking right now, how could I do
Oh,
this?
yeah.
Somewhat legally, right? Or I
Yeah.
might just have a I'm trying to think here. If I put like a taxi on a car that I may buy and pick people up, I might get into problems. Anyway, you know the cash cab in
Yep.
Toronto. I think they used
Yep.
to do that. That was fun. I would do a version of that. Anyway, really nice talk to you, Justin. Can you tell us where to find out more about you?
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn under Justin Stinson. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I've got, a little over 30,000 connections on there. And so, I really value all of those connections, and I've worked hard to build up that network. And I think that's really good. And I use that network a lot to connect other people. So, and then I also have a website, captureconsulting.com. And so you can reach me at that as well.
There you go. And I am Charles Cormier, your host, CEO wisdompodcast.com. And if you want to start a podcast, that would be podbuyer.com. That was Justin Stinson.